Welcome back to part 3 of the Lily with Glass. I'm using my dark green 595 pencil to put in some shadows as we work down and finish up the bottom of this bottle. So I'm drawing in some shapes. We put in color last time. So I'm drawing in some of these, the shapes that are down at the bottom with my dark pencil. I kind of like to sketch it and see what I'm going to do, where things go before I actually put in the colors. So I'm using my 595 dark green pencil to add some shadow area down at the bottom. It doesn't go all over the bottom, just part of it. So I'm carefully drawing in that shadow and coloring it. Now I'm adding in some of my green 26 down into that area. And underneath that, I'm going to add just a touch of the lightest green of Unison, which is green number 12. I'm adding just a touch of Rembrandt 618-8, which has a little turquoise color to it, down in that area. Just a little, smearing it with my pencil. I'm using just a touch of the light green Unison number 12 to add a highlight down at the bottom. And a couple of more accents and highlights with the Rembrandt 618-8. Now here I'm using the 750 black to put in a dark line underneath the highlights. Use black or dark green as needed to outline that area. You can add highlights with the Rembrandt 618.8, and you can continue to lighten or darken areas by using, you can lighten them by using your Carbothello 100 pastel pencil over the top of some colors, and that will make them lighter. And we're also going to use the pastel pencil 100 to make that light reflection that runs down the side of the glass. It goes part way now, but we're going to use it to take it all the way down the side of the glass. So I'm lightening things with the white, and then I'm finishing the reflection on the side of the glass. I'm going to add base coat to the bottom of my glass with Unison Green 26. And I'm going to blend that in with my sponge. Darken, after you blend in the Unison color, darken it, manipulate that with a 750 Carbothello pencil. And you can add darker green. So we're outlining it with the black, but it needs to be darker. So use your 595 dark green to darken the area even further. Here I'm using that Rembrandt 618-8 for some accents. It makes nice bright accents in that color and on top of those colors, and then using the black to further define and make that dark. Now that we've finished the bottom with our black 750, we've got to add some base color under there to add our reflection. So I'm using our light blue BG12 underneath the bottle. And occasionally adding a couple of more highlights as I see them. And a little bright white highlight with my Diane Townsend. So I'm continuing to add background color around the bottom of the bottle. Then I'll be able to add the reflections that the bottle makes on top of those. We're going to start that reflection by using 570 at the base, and then further out where it's brighter, we're going to lay down 560 next to it. We're doing this on raw paper. We're not doing it on top of base coat that we laid down background color. Brighten it up with a little white with your Carbothello 100 pencil. Then use the 575 to go around to add color to the back side of the shadow. Now here I'm using the Unison 526 to fill in the shadow area with some Unison 12 to brighten up the spot of light that comes through. Blend those really well with your finger and use your white Carbothello pencil to make things brighter and help blend those areas together. I like to add a little bit of that Rembrandt 618-8 to that as well. I really like that color, so taking advantage of an opportunity to use it. And now I'm using the Unison Blue Violet. This would be the number 15, the darker color, to go around the shadow. This is going to complete the shadow because this is darker than the other side of the bottle where we added the blue background color. And blend out smoothly with your sponge. Add the light blue, blue violet 7 above the shadow because that represents the light that's coming between the two bottles onto the surface that they're sitting on. So we want to blend that in. And at the same time, use your pencils to tidy up the edges of your glass and blend out. I'm using the sponge to blend that in. Continue adding the light blue to the front of the bottom of where the bottle is sitting to the foreground area. And blend that in. You want to make that shadow have a soft edge. As shadows move outward from what casts the shadow, they get less distinct. And I'm using a 595 pastel pencil to complete that shadow, and just rubbing it really well with my finger into the blue that we put at the underneath it and above it. After you've completed the dark area of the shadow of the bottle, you can further brighten that little area by using the really brightest spot, by using your Carbothello 570. Just going right over that area and brightening it up. I'm also using my Diane Townsend to add a bright spot of white at the base of the reflection from the bottle. in green 12. I'm just tweaking my tones and colors back and forth using the things that we have been using on this shadow. Now here I'm darkening the shadow with my blue-green 595. It does have some blue in it, but it's the darkest green we've been using so far. I want to make sure that the values are right. The values are everything. And this is the purple. It's blue-violet 15. And I'm rubbing it into this area. And I'm going to modify it a little bit with one of the lighter blue violets, A31. Or even the lighter blue-violet color, which would be number 7. I prefer the 400. It's kind of a medium dark blue. So we're going to outline that rim. And work on the bottle next. Making sure that my drawing is right. Now I'm going to work on the blue bottle. I'm starting the drawing of the bottle with Carbothello 400, going around the rim, making sure that the shape is correct. You could use 390, but I prefer the medium dark value of the 400. It's also a little brighter. That will allow me to go darker, lighter, or whatever I want to do. But I want to sketch in this bottle, making sure my lines are all correct. Now I have my 390 starting at the top section. I'm placing the darks on the rim of the bottle. I want to get these in the exact right position. We're going to complete the top of the bottle before we go on to the neck and the rest of the bottle. So this is the center area, or what really would be the opening of the bottle. I'm going to even up that top, which isn't completely flat, with my background color. And blend over that with a lighter unison and blend that with my finger to get that nice and flat. And now I'm using my Carbothello 400 to fill in the rest of that top of the bottle. That would be the medium value. And I'm using Carbothello 425 to fill in the rest of the top. Go back and add darker values as needed with Carbothello 390. If you need to go even darker, then use your Carbothello 750. Here I'm using the 425. And I'm going to blend it with my finger. Going a little bit darker here with the 750, as I told you earlier. And now I'm using my Super Diane Townsend number 10 white to add the brightest highlight on the rim. If you don't have a Diane Townsend white, you can use a NuPastel white or a Unison white, but this is my favorite white for adding accents. Now this is Unison BG12, which is a light blue, and I can use it to add a little light blue highlight over there on the right, and I can modify that if it got it too big, which I did, by using my Carbothello pencil to kind of carve it down. Adding a couple more lights with that light blue. I can use the edge of it. It works beautifully for that. Touching up the background again with my blue violet 15. Now I'm going to need to smooth that area out. So I'm going to use the Derwent 300, which is a blue violet pencil, to even out that area because I didn't get my strokes exactly like I wanted them. I'm still working on that background, getting the shape right around the top of my bottle. Here I'm working on the neck. So I'm using my 425 Carbothello, marked where the bottom of the neck is. And now I'm using a blue-green Unison number 9 to fill in the base coat of the bottle. So I'm just putting a light layer in, and we're going to blend it later. So I'm blending that together with the small blenders up to the edge so it's nice and even. I started by using a Carbothello 425 to darken the edge and switched to the Carbothello 400. It was a bit darker and more of what I needed. I'm also going to darken the other side. Taking my time and using my reference photo to make sure that I get the shapes just right. Now I've switched to my 750 black to get that a little bit darker in there. And this is back to the 425, adding the color to the center of the bottleneck. Now I've switched to the 460 Carbothello pencil, which has a blue cast to it, or excuse me, rather a blue-green color to it, to add the blue-green color that's reflecting from the green bottle. Continuing to darken that area so the values are just right. I'm using combinations of 400 and 390 to continue to darken that neck and work down the bottle. Here I'm adding more Unison blue-green number 9, working down our bottle and blending as we go. After blending this in, add some green number 20, just a little, and blend that into the blue. We want to represent that reflection. So I'm adding some more green, blending it with my finger, and I'm going to use my sponge to blend it in. Here I'm adding more blue-green and using my sponge to blend that in. There's enough color on the sponge, both blue and green, to cover this area and fill in that tooth a little bit so we can add our pencils on top of it. Now I'm adding the blue again, BG9, blue-green 9, on the face area of my bottle and blending that in. I'm using the Carbothello 400 to start adding some darks and shape to this bottle. Putting in some light strokes, firming up the edges. We have our base value in, and now we're going to use our pencils. I decided to use a NuPastel 255 to add color to the bottle. It was the perfect blue-green color. I'm modifying that with my 460 Carbothello blue-green pencil. Add darker blue with Carbothello 400. Working down the left side of the bottle. Here I'm drawing the face of the front of the bottle. This is a square bottle. So it, even though the top is round, it squares off. So this is the face of the front of the bottle. So I'm sketching that in with the 460 and the 400. I'm drawing the other side with the 400. I'm using my 460 blue-green pencil to add color, switching to the 425, also adding color, and blending that with my finger. That looks nice, not too blue, not too green. So I'm alternating between those to create the color that's in the neck and top of that bottle. This is the Carbothello 400. So I'm darkening towards the back of the bottle with that. I'm adding more green Unison 20 to the face of the bottle and blending it downward. After adding the green 20, add more blue-green number 9 underneath it and blend that with your sponge. Add a Unison blue-green 9 to the right side of the bottle and blend that with your fingers and sponge. add a darker edge and modify that with 425 Carbothello. Even up that top edge as it comes around that corner. Use your 460 Carbothello to add blue-green up at the top edge of the bottle. Smooth that in with your finger. Use the 460 to add some more darks over in the front of the bottle. Switch to your 425 pencil to add more blue. We don't want the color to go too green. We want it to be blue-green. So we're using the blue pencil to add more blue back into it. We have a nice base built up. It's very smooth, and you don't need your sponge anymore probably to blend with. You can just use your fingers because there's enough color on the paper. I'm using the 460 blue-green to add darker color to the face of the bottle. I'm just going to keep adding that until I get the color just like I want to and the values dark enough. Probably going to have to add some darker pencils to get that value where I want it, but right now I'm still using the 460. I'm going to use the 750 black Carbothello to deepen the shadows at the neck and top of the bottle. I'm using Carbothello 390 to go darker on the interior of the bottle. Here I'm using a light blue, which is Blue Green 12, to add some highlight areas in the top of the bottle, just underneath the neck. And now I'm using that same Blue Green 9, which is a beautiful turquoise color, to add additional highlights. Use the Blue Green number 9 also on the left side of the neck, under the rim, and on the left side of the bottle. It makes a perfect highlight. Working down the bottle using the 400, we're going to start to design and draw in the shapes that are at the bottom of the bottle. Here I'm using 425 to put in some color on the front side of the bottle. And I'm using the Blue Green '9 and Blue Green 12 to add some highlights there. Also using blue, green 9 and 12 to add highlights on the top edge of the front of the bottle. That looks really beautiful. Fill in the bottom area of the bottle with blue-green 12. This is the lightest area down at the bottom, and so I'm working carefully around those dark shapes that we already added to add color. Add more blue-green 12 and continue to blend with your finger. Use Carbothello 460 to blend in some blue-green where the light blue merges with the medium value blues that we put in earlier. I'm also going to even up that edge. Continue building up the values on your bottle with your 460. Sharpening those edges where the two sides of the bottle meet. Take your time. Make sure it's just like you want it. Continue adding Carbothello 400, darkening the values, particularly up at the top there. We're just adding a lot of layers of color to get it to where we want it to be. I'm adding it over on the right side, blending it with my finger. Now this is the 460, so I'm modifying the color a little bit, bringing in a little more green as I work down the right side of the bottle. Now here I've switched to 425 to bridge the darker colors to the lighter color that's down at the bottom, and to work on those side areas a little bit. Here I'm using the 100 white Carbothello pencil to lighten up a couple of areas that are highlight areas that are running down the sides of the bottle, darkening in some areas with 400. There's a lot of little shapes down there, and it takes a while to sort them all out. Put in all the little shapes at the bottom of the bottle with your 400 Carbothello. After coloring in all the little shapes with the darker 400, color over them with the 425 and blend it with your finger. And now I'm using the 400 to darken the shapes back up so I can see them a little better. I'm using the white 100 Carbothello pencil to lighten up some of these areas in between the darker shapes. So if I use that on top of the 425, it lightens it to another value. Now I've brought in another pencil that's not quite as light, but also lightens that area. And this is the 435 Carbothello. And down at the very bottom, I'm using a little spring green with Carbothello 570 that picks up the reflection in front from that green glass. And then the white pencil to add over top of the blue, which makes a nice bright blue in these lighter areas. I use the white pencil to make little tiny dots of reflection in the bottom of the glass. Also use it to draw in those reflections that go up the side of the glass and across the front of the glass. It gets rather complicated in that area, and this kind of simplifies it. Fill in the right side with the Carbothello 425, just like you did the front of the bottle. Switch to 400 to put in the dark area that's down there, one of the stripes. Looks like stripes. It's a curved area, and then add 460 under that, and then 425, and blend those together. Use the 100 Carbothello to put in the highlights. It works beautifully. And also use the 570 light green to pick up that reflection that's down there. And this is a little 460 Carbothello blue-green. And then this is the 570 lighter green. I'm using the white Carbothello to put over the blue and add little dots of reflections. The white just goes over that so well and just makes it pop. Put a little bit in the back here, everywhere I see it in my reference photo. Adding a little dark with my Carbothello 400 and 390. Just adjusting the values. This is the time when you look at your work and you go, what do I need to change? And so I'm adjusting the values, putting in a little more dark. Really liking the way this looks. I'm darkening values at the top with the 750 black Carbothello, getting things just a little bit darker there. Now I'm going to add the reflection at the bottom of this bottle. The light is coming through on the left and adding reflection at the right. So I'm drawn off this area with the blue-green 9 and I'm filling it in and rubbing it with a sponge and blending it out. And I'm blending it out straight. There's the two parallel lines going all the way up to the bottle and blending it out with my Soft Tools sponge. This works really well. I like that. Now I'm using my blue-green 12 to add some light there because the light's coming through the bottle, so that's the lightest part of the area that they're sitting on, is that blue-green area, but it's a very light, pale blue actually. So I'm just blending that with my hand. Before I finish the reflection, I'm going to finish the background around the bottle. And for that, I'm going to use that A31 is what I'm using to come down. That's the lighter blue-violet unison, and carefully blending in the color, getting it nice and even, and down to the reflection area. Going down the edge of the bottle with the 390 and just evening that out after I put the background color in. I'm darkening the edges of the shadow with the Carbothello 400. After I do that, I will darken around the bottom of the bottle as it heads towards the front of the painting at that angle. Then I'm going to add light with a 100 Carbothello pencil, making a kind of semicircular shape at the bottom of the glass where the light reflects through it. There are all kinds of little shapes in there of highlight, light and dark, so I'm going to use different colors to create that. So this is Carbothello 100 to create the first light. This is blue-green 12. I'm adding a little more light with that, another shape that I see in my reference photo. And this is Carbothello 425, where I'm putting some dark around these shapes. Kind of just separate them and to manipulate the shape and even it out a little bit. This is the Carbothello 400, and this is the Carbothello 460. So I'm adding a little bit of green to that because we still have green reflected from the green bottle, and that kind of helps our painting to be cohesive. I'm darkening the bottom edge with Carbothello 460, which is a blue-green that is letting some other light areas show for the reflections. So I carved them out by putting the darks in. I'm evening up that edge a little bit. Add more lights with the blue-green number 12 and also with the blue-green number 9, which was the base coat on our bottle. And then modifying that with the Carbothello 100. Keep adjusting your values by either adding darker Carbothellos or using the white to make the light areas brighter. Then for your final bright highlight, use the Diane Townsend number 10. It's just super great for adding those little touches of super bright highlights. I'm going to speed things up a bit while we complete the background in our painting. Here I'm using Blue Violet 15, which is the darkest background color that we have. We used it also at the top. I'm blending it in this corner to keep the eye from traveling off in the picture. So I'm using it and finishing the bottom of the painting as well. I'm using a blue-green 12 on the left side and blending it into that, mixing all those colors together. We want to keep the eye from traveling out of the picture and keep it focused on some of these beautiful areas of glass that we've created. I'm going to finish up that little reflection with my 360 Carbothello pencil. It's okay to rotate your painting in whatever direction you need to finish. This is Blue Violet 15. I'm putting around the edge. I'm also using the A31 and the BG12, which is a nice blue. I like that blue. Mixing that together to form a nice combination, which is complementary colors to the flower. I want to get it nice and blended in. I'm using the Derwent 300, which is about the right color as the Blue Violet, and so I can use it to get in around the edges of the flower and make a nice even transition into the background. We don't want to get color on the flower, and we don't want uneven edges. This is BG12, mixing that in and using the applicator to push it up next to the flower. So this, like I said, is speeded up. Take your time when you're doing it to get it close, but not too close. Decided to get a little darker in there. Use a little sponge tip. That's a nice blend. Like the way that looks. Down to the very last application of the background. So I'm down to the side, putting the dark BV15 to keep the eye from going out, and transitioning into the lighter colors and also bluer colors. I really like the blue-green. 12 for that. It blends nicely with that purple violet. Gives the eye some interesting things to look like. And I'm using that all the way down that bottom edge. That is the direction of the light. Adding a little more darkness in there and blending it with my fingers. That's A31. Blending over top of that. And these are unisons. I often turn my paintings around and upside down to get things finished. I'm putting darker color at the top of the page and just bringing the whole painting to completion. I hope you've enjoyed this project. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed working on a new paper, and I hope to create many more paintings on pastel matte. So please join me next time for our next project. If you'd like to see more of my work, go to kwit.com. Thank you.